All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this LEPSL Facebook Live. My name is Sarah, and today we are diving into our LEPSL 530 discussion board MVP interview. Thank you all so much for joining us today, whether you are joining us live or watching the replay. And with that, I'll go ahead and pass things over to your academic director, Dr. Fritsvold.
Sarah, thank you very much for the kind introduction and for all the behind the scenes legwork and infrastructure work that you put in to make these events a success. Law enforcement and public safety leadership community, thanks so much for joining us. This is one of the most exciting things that I get to do in my role, which is meet a student and recognize all the effort that he put in to make everything around him better. And for a little bit of context, this discussion board MVP recognition is a student-driven recognition. So most votes wins, true democracy. And the best thing about it is that it reaffirms what I believe is the heartbeat of this program. Our faculty, our academic practitioners, and I'd respectfully suggest are probably the most qualified law enforcement leaders in an academic-facing program in the country. We work really hard to keep our curriculum timely and up-to-date and useful and immediately applicable, but it's really students like this that are the heartbeat of the program. That on our interactive discussion boards, sharing lived experience through the lens of the course material across rank and across geography, and our students are spread out throughout the United States and beyond. So it's really students like this that make the program what it is and have made it so successful. So I'm overjoyed to have this conversation. So without further ado, please join me in recognizing our discussion board MVP from this past course, the LEPSL 530 Public Safety Law in a Dynamic World course, Chief Scott Collins from the Argyle School District PD. Chief Collins, huge congratulations and thanks for joining us here.
Thank you, Dr. Fritsvold. It's an honor to be here, and a special thanks to all my classmates and professors and stuff that have encouraged me along the way, but to the classmates who chose me for this prestigious award. It's an honor to be chosen.
And again, we appreciate the opportunity to have the conversation here, Chief. So I tried to organize us chronologically as best I could here, sir. So let's start at the beginning. You live in the greater Fort Worth, Texas area. How did you hear about the University of San Diego and the MS-LEPSL program?
This is a kind of a weird story, but I completed the National Command Staff College out of South Carolina. Our class was in Louisiana, just outside New Orleans. And I figured my journey just wasn't quite over yet. You know, they'd set us up for graduate work, but it was not as some parts of it was more intense than LEPSL. Some of it was less intense, but not the writing aspect. And I had set a goal to my parents about 20 years ago that said I'll eventually go back for my master's degree. It's just not the right time. I was burnt out from school. And having the command and staff college, it was time to continue that journey. So I had started looking through various programs, looked at several different programs, but I found that the University of San Diego best fit my needs due to the fact of the National Command College credits and also the FBI Trilogy credits that was earned. So it was a way to cut down some costs and use my experience and education to get into the program. Little did I know that 2 years later, the program would change my life and my career and take me to the next level. And one of the best journeys I've made.
Wow. We're pretty humbling to hear those kind of words, Chief. And we're so honored to be part of a promise that you made to your folks here, especially in the holiday season. That means a lot to us. In doing my thorough prep work for this interview, I was looking at some of your past work in the classes, and you had noted that the school district that you help police is growing at a whopping 16% per year, one of the fastest growing districts in the country. And this has all sorts of organizational leadership and organizational change ramifications. Is there anything that you learned in a LEPSL course that helped better prepare you for such a dynamic and challenging time in your district?
Well, you know, the positive thing about the growth of a school district is it's very unpredictable. Just like the police world is very unpredictable, so is our agencies. Everything's always changing and revolving. But what I really like about the LEPSL program is that you're taking colleagues from all across the United States, from large agencies to small agencies, from agencies that are specialized from the feds all the way down to the local municipality, and taking their best practices and picking and choosing what you can make work for your agency and using those to further your career. I've worked with from line level officers to school-based law enforcement to fellow chiefs. Everybody's had a different perspective, and they can all bring a different point of view into what you may be needing to do to expand or to solve a problem. And so one of the best parts about LEPSL is having that wide variety in the discussion room or in that class to be able to facilitate lots of different conversations with your peers and your classmates. Everybody here is a peer, regardless of your rank. I'm just one student, regardless of my rank here. And just like many other students, we're all looking to achieve the same goals.
That's fantastic. And I have to say, I allocate a certain amount of time to teach my class and be on the discussion boards every day. And I often get engrossed in the conversation. And all of a sudden I look up and 2.5 hours have passed just because I was so struck by the types of conversations that you're describing. So kind of dovetailing with that here, Chief, let's talk a little bit about vigor. I'm really humbled to watch students like yourself engage on these discussion boards in a manner that's so far over and above. Like, for example, as you know, we require 3 posts a week, and it's not uncommon for students to double and triple that requirement. And I went back and looked at your work and actually did the nerdy math, and you were regularly tripling anything that we asked as far as a course requirement. So you'd earned that grade a long time ago, days and days and days ago. You earned that 100%, but you were still continuing to engage with your colleagues. I guess the question is why?
Well, as a leader, we need to be involved in the program. But secondly, those conversations keep coming more and more prevalent, throughout the conversation, and one of the things is making sure that you have that conversation, those involvements and things like that, and choosing not just the same 2 or 3 classmates, but choosing all of your classmates to have those discussions with. It's great to have the same conversations with 2 or 3 that you regularly have those conversations with, or you've been in the same 5 or 6 classes with, but it's also including all of your classmates that are new and being a mentor and help shape their experience in the LEPSL program and where they feel included as part of the program. It's in my journey, in this past 2-year journey, I've been able to pick up some great classmates and they've graduated, and then we pick up some new ones in our cohort. And you want to make sure everybody feels the same way. Like right now, I've had several of my classmates that are my current classes that are great people to have conversations with, and we do, but also making sure we have our new ones that we take them under the wing and lift them up on the leadership ladder and bring them and show them the LEPSL way.
I love that. That's reminiscent of, I'm sure you've heard Professor Mike Laurie use his classic phrase, leadership point of view. I appreciate that leadership point of view, making sure that, again, you're not just zeroing in on a handful of students that happen to have the same cadence you do, that you're really going out of your way to make everybody feel welcome. I really appreciate that.
As Professor Laurie says, KOLO, keep on leading on. That's dedicated to him.
That's fantastic. I found my career gets better the more I adapt and quote unquote steal things from Professor Laurie. So, we're going to keep those phrases going. All right. So with this vigor as the backdrop here, Chief, again, you're regularly tripling what we ask from you as a program, as are many students. You, like most LEPSL students, are balancing a demanding and unpredictable day job. You have personal and family commitments, and you have this master's degree on top of it. On top of that, you switched chief's roles. You went from one chief's position to a different chief's position, smack dab in the middle of your time in the LEPSL program. I know we have a lot of folks out there in the audience who are concerned about, a master's degree like ours and the time management and how do you make it work with all these other commitments. Can you talk us through your experience on that front, please, Chief?
Yeah, that was a very challenging time for about a month and a half, almost 2 months in my LEPSL career. I didn't know how this was going to play out. And I'll be honest with you, I had to have some heart-to-heart conversations with my professor and a heart-to-heart conversation with you about, hey, I'm not going to be at my best. And I knew that. I was leaving one agency, had started the other one in a consulting role, trying to make sure that I was preparing myself to set myself up for success, knowing that the program takes 15 to 20 hours a week. I was very worried about how this was going to happen and finding enough time on top of events, new events, old events, family life. It was a rough month and a half, almost 2 months. However, the college worked with me. They provided me some leniency when I needed it, which I didn't need very much. My posts were down to from my usual 12 to 15 to 20 to about 5 to 10, which is, to me, that was very different than my norm. But my papers are still in on time and things like that. And they did show grace and leniency. And that was one of the most important things of this job is always going to be there. When I got COVID and was a little bit sick, I thought I was going to have to use one of my times to turn a paper in late. I ended up getting it in on time, but the college has been more than happy to accommodate your needs as a law enforcement professional, as long as you do one thing, and that's communicate, tell them what's going on, and paint that clear picture. They'll work with you, and that's one of the things that we have to do is we have to speak up when we need help, and they'll accommodate what you need.
Man, I'm appreciate you sharing those moments in your time in the program. And we say we're a family first program, and we really, really mean it, right? And that's so if we're not meeting you as an LA professional where you are and adapting our coursework, being flexible, whether it's for a health reason or a professional reason or something else, which we're going to talk about here momentarily, we really pride ourselves in making it work. And I know some people in your profession say that we get it, right? That we've been exposed to the LE culture long enough where we've learned how to best, again, kind of meet you with where you are, make sure we're supporting you to the best of our ability. Speaking of, you had, again, kind of smack dab in the middle of your time in the program, you had a family vacation that you've been planning for some time. And I believe it was delayed twice, if not more, due to COVID, as many things were. And so here you are, have this great momentum in the LEPSL program. And if memory serves, you're going to be offline for the better part of a week. How did that work out for you, Chief?
So I actually had two of these experiences, and I'm going to share both of them. My first one was in my first real program. I started in May, got credit for that class with a FBI trilogy credit. And it was my first written class. And you were my professor that week. And I remember our cruise got canceled, so we punted, and we're going to Disney World. How am I going to pull off a vacation at Disney World when we could start with park opening to park ending? I can't really do a discussion post or write a paper on a roller coaster. And I called, and I remember that it says, "Hey, this is my first class. I'm sorry to even have to do this. What do I need to do?" And you were more than accommodating to make that work. And yes, I was a brand new student. I did 5 or so posts a week while I was down there, and I was able to write my discussion post in my paper late at night at Disney World and turn that in, and the grace was given. But on the cruise this past July, I had a family vacation that was finally going to go through. I made notifications to the college about this. I wasn't missing this. This was a graduation gift from the command college that I had scheduled twice. And there was no way I was missing this. So I called the professor, and we made an agreement where I could be offline and not participate in the discussion board that week. However, my paper was still due on time, and I was able to write the paper on the cruise ship and send it off and enjoy my vacation and have a week to kind of recenter and refocus and, get some family time back. The program does take a lot of your time, but having that quality family time was something that I really needed to be able to pull through the end of the finish line here.
That's great. And so happy, but not surprised in the slightest that our faculty and staff were accommodating and flexible and made that stuff work. And I'll say after the challenges of the last 2.5 years in particular, facing your profession, probably no one needs and has earned a vacation and getting some of that family time back, more so than folks in your profession. So we're honored to make that all work. Pushing forward here, Chief, you had an experience in the program that really, really sticks out in my mind. We have the fantastic faculty member, Lieutenant Dwayne Voss, who does these out and about in the community video segments for the classes that he teaches. And he also has regular live office hours, as most of our faculty do. You had a particularly noteworthy live office hour experience in your office, if memory serves. Do you mind talking our audience through those details here, Chief?
So I was very, doing my research about the LEPSL program. I had no idea what I was walking into. I mean, there are so many different law enforcement, criminal justice, master's degree programs out, and they all offer some kind of flair or spin. And so one of the people that I talked to was several LEPSL graduates in across the country that were on LinkedIn, got their numbers, called them, did my research about the program. But one of them that I never thought that I would have any interaction with was a professor here by the name of Steve Weiss. Steve was an Argyle resident at the time. I was living in Aubrey. Our paths had never crossed. I talked to him about the LEPSL program, and he gave me, lots of tips. And I said, look, I'm not trying to cheat the system. I know you're close. I know I can't have you a professor, but tell me about the LEPSL program so I can learn. So that turned into a friendship and a mentorship of, how I can best succeed in the program. Because as a brand new student, I didn't know what the expectations were from the college. I mean, it was a learning experience for me, and that was great. Well, fast forward, a year and a half down the road, I'm almost through the program, and I applied for the job at the Argyle Independent School District as a police chief, and I had done some research from Steve, and we had been talking for quite a while about the project. And as I got hired, Steve and I became a little bit closer friends. His kids are there, so he's glad that a LEPSL graduate was running the schools where his kids were, and it felt a little bit safer. And he ever asked me if I had Professor Voss, and I was like, no, I've never met the gentleman. And we missed each other on the first round where Professor Voss came in, and I wish I would have known that. It was funny. We were sitting in IACP and had Professor Voss in that next class. And he came in to watch his cousin's football game. It was just down the road. He made an extra effort to come over and see me, and we were able to make that video about networking and the importance of networking in office hours. And I stand by that. The camaraderie we have in our partnership and our students across this great nation is amazing, because you do have that. If you're in Dallas, Texas, and you need something, pick up the phone, and we're going to be right here to take care of you.
It was so exciting for me, and I appreciate you sharing that story. I'm sitting here and I see that come across my desk or my computer, and here it is. You have a LEPSL faculty retired from the San Diego Police Department, a LEPSL faculty retired from the New York Police Department, and a current student from Texas, right? Kind of three different vertical swatches of the country, all coming together in your office, talking about the issues of the day and sharing that. Professor Voss was kind enough to record that and share that discussion with his students in class. We use the term high impact teaching practices in my nerdy world. That's definitely a high impact teaching practice.
It was something that was totally not planned, but it was so worth the hour that we spent together of making the time work and catching up, and just being able to have that. Instead of just a person behind the keyboard, we actually had a face, a name, and a voice actually to match all that. And yes, he's done a lot of videos, but the videos don't do justice of an actual conversation with a person. And it was a truly magnificent experience, and I'm thankful for that, the friendships that have come out of this program.
That's fantastic. Our technology team and our faculty do such a great job. They call it kind of humanizing the online environment, that they really go over and above to do things like that. So speaking of going over and above, Chief, you were kind enough to take a day off work and come join me at a LEPSL vendor booth at the recent IACP conference in Dallas. So it was you and I. We spent a day together in the booth. It was a pleasure to meet you in person after having, a lot of online and telephonic interactions. And we were doing our best to recruit, the next Chief Scott Collins for the program. As you're going out the door, you're going to get people in the door. So in honor of the time that we spent together in Dallas, I'm going to just finish this interview with a slight little costume change. So we appreciate the ambassadorship. I can tell you, Chief, that roughly for every 3 new LEPSL students, something like 2 of them are referrals from current students and alumni. So that word of mouth means a great deal to us. So as we finish off our discussion here, Chief, is there any ground we didn't cover, anything I left out that you'd want to share with the public safety folks out there?
The one thing that I'd like to share, whether you're a current student, soon-to-be student, looking at the college, you can do your homework about a million different online programs and about the master's degree from criminal justice from a lot of different places. And I'll tell you my story. Originally, I didn't know the impact that the University of San Diego LEPSL program was going to have on me until I got involved in it. I had several different offers on which university to go through. But hindsight 2020, even though it's mainly based off referrals, that's the best kind of students you're going to have. You know, it wasn't about the online advertising. It wasn't about we're going to offer you all this money to come to our school. It's about the experience. You know, they do teach you real college, real master's level degree work. They teach you the opportunity to critically think, write papers. I've been out of school for 22 years in my bachelor's degree. And yes, I did have the command college, but the command college prepared me for a lot of different things, but not the academics of how much you're going to read and learn and study and in the high pace that this goes. This is a high level course. And there are a lot of great students. And I mean this with all due respect to my classmates. I've met a lot of wonderful students along this 2-year journey, and I could not come to the finish line without giving them credit where credit is due. They've all played a role in this journey. And the people that are still in the program, I encourage you to reach out, network, attend those office hours. I encourage you to make sure that you advertise that you're a LEPSL graduate, because you never know when you're going to need that. You know, you never know when you're going to need to pick up a phone and say, I need to go to San Diego. Who can I use to come there? In our private Facebook group, we have those connections. And this is truly a special program for law enforcement, and the opportunities that will take you and help your degree go farther and your job go farther. It's top notch. And that's what you need to know, is that if you're looking to be a command staff, this is the place to be to help you achieve that dream and that goal.
Wow. Chief, we're humbled to hear those words, and we thank you for everything that you've done for the program, for being such a great ambassador, for making everything around you better. And I guess I'm going to bravely announce this publicly. Come sometime in 2023, we're going to have some alumni tools, an alumni-specific Blackboard course to facilitate some of the ongoing benefits of the program, continue that networking, continue that sharing of best practices, all for free, all available as just kind of a value add for our alumni. So we look forward to seeing you on there post-graduation. And for everyone out there in the public safety community, first, especially during this holiday season, thanks for the brave work that you do out in our communities and all the sacrifices that you make. And to wrap things up here, please join me in congratulating the winner of the most prestigious award that we have to offer in the LEPSL program, our discussion board MVP, Chief Scott Collins. Chief, I've really appreciated the conversation. Congratulations again. And we will kick it back to Sarah here to wrap us up.
Yes, congratulations again. Thank you both so much for hopping on and taking the time today. And thank you all to everyone who's watching live or everyone who's watching the replay. We appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join us. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.